All right, Kevin, back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I am here with Spencer Jones. Spencer, welcome. So awesome to have you, man.
Thank you. I'm super pumped to be here with you and honored that you're allowing me on the show to shine my light with your crew. And thank you for shining your light with me. It's truly an honor.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll tell you, you and I, we didn't have a formal introduction by anybody per se, which a lot of times that's the way it happens in my world. But we do have this mutual friend in Dr. Rob McClellan and stuff. And I had met Rob probably, I want to say it's 2020. Yeah, we're going on 3 years now that I met Rob at one of Steve Sims's speakeasy events. And Rob and I just made such a powerful connection at that event. We've been friends ever since. We've been staying in touch ever since. And I saw that you and Rob, if I remember right, you guys were speaking at an event together and stuff. And that's
Yes.
how you ended up coming on my radar and ended up reaching out to you. And I'm like, hey, if you're open to it, I'd just love to have a conversation and get to know you a little bit. And you were like open to that, and we did, and here we are. And I'm just like, Spencer, I would love to interview you for the podcast if you're open to it. And I'll tell you, that speaks volumes about to the power of relationships, which of course is what this podcast is all about. And so, what I'd like to do is I want to start by turning it over to you so we can set a little bit of context. So we can have you share a little bit about, what do you do, who you serve, what inspires you most about the work that you do and the impact you guys are making. We'll just start there, Spencer.
I love it. I'll answer those questions shortly. Can I actually give a predecessor to all those comments on
Absolutely.
what you
Whatever feels right to you, man.
Perfect. I appreciate it. So you're right. You met Dr. Rob about 3 years ago, Rob McClelland, and I met him just about 3 years ago as well at Michael Faber's Unleash You Now's men's retreat. We were there together. We
Okay.
hit it off, really got connected. And so Dr. Rob and I have been in contact through on and off throughout those 3 years. And we've spoken at a number of the same events together. I think that's what got you on my radar as well. So, we're talking about $1 million relationships. I'm very intentional about the relationships I build. Before it was, willy-nilly. I want to meet as many people, but I want to meet and discern, are they in alignment with us and what we're doing
Yeah.
and who I am or not? No judgment. If they're not, that's cool. But I just want to be intentional about who I'm surrounding myself with. So, I get along with Dr. Rob really well. I like his energy, what he's all about. So I know he's very intentional about who he surrounds himself with. So it's not a coincidence that you and I are meeting, not just from the universe, but I was very intentional because I saw, oh, you're friends with Dr. Rob. This is the stuff that you're doing. Cool. I'll send you a friend request and then let's see what you're doing. And that's how this whole thing, then the follow up exactly how you mentioned it, I posted about an event you had, a retreat you had, and then we started, you messaged me and we had a conversation, etc. But it
Yeah.
was, I was intentional about, oh, who do I want to surround myself with? And you were one of those people like, hey, cool, let's see what Kevin's about and who you are. And then that just led to where we are today. So just interesting to see, at least I always like to see the background. Like I try to be intentional and know where most of my, or if not all of my relationships stemmed from.
Yeah. I really appreciate you sharing that, Spencer, because you're absolutely right. I am, and I talk about this stuff all the time about being intentional about who we surround ourselves with. I'll tell you, in doing the work that I do, in facilitating relationships that impact millions of people's lives, it's not just me and what I do, but it is totally a co-creative and a collaborative experience. And in order to have the biggest impact, I have to align myself with the right kind of people and stuff. It's as much about who they are as it is about what I do and the unique abilities that I possess. And I know the same is exactly true for you. It's that when we are in alignment with somebody on core values, and we together bring our unique abilities, our gifts, our talents for the purpose of making a bigger impact. I mean, that is when magic happens. That is when magic happens, and it happens all the time when you get in the right circles of people, you know.
Right? When you get in the right rooms and the right circles of people, and then you just connect and the fireworks happen, and who knows where that leads. And it might not be anywhere right then and there. I met Dr. Rob 3 years ago,
Yeah,
right? And then all of a sudden now all the stuff that's going on from there, this relationship and other things and other relationships as well that stemmed from me getting to know and meet him, but him and other people as well. And so it might not be, fireworks right off the bat of impacting millions of dollars right off the bat, but it could be a month later, it could be 3 years later, who
yeah,
knows?
yeah,
But
yeah,
when you're intentional about it and aligning with people who are in alignment with you, they could disagree with you, right? But they still in alignment, good energy with you, cool. Then amazing things can happen. So
yeah,
I love it. And I love where our relationship's going and heading, and I just am so grateful for it.
yeah. Same, same. Okay,
Cool.
so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and turn it over to you so we can set a little bit of context here. So
Yes.
let's dig into that a little bit. And yeah, I mean, whatever you feel led to share on this, and I'll just turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to answer that actual question that you asked. So
That's
I
all
got
right.
excited.
That's all right.
So the question is like, who am I basically, who we serve, and why I love what we do. Is that
Yeah,
kind of more or less it? Okay. So hi, I'm Spencer Jones. If you already heard that, people call me the Prince of Positivity. I love spreading positivity and joy everywhere we go, but not the toxic positivity, right? Not everything's, hey, sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. Yay! Like those are great, but let's be honest, we go through struggles in our life. We go through these valleys that are difficult, and so let's recognize them and work through them so that we can step into our light even more and shine, right? We can live our life to the max, get the most out of it. And so, just about me, I was a middle school, high school choir director for 9 years. Love being in the classroom, love working with kids, but felt called to do more. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life in various degrees and different businesses. And so then after teaching, or while I'm teaching, I'm like, there's something else. Started dabbling, figuring out what this something else is, got into personal growth development, realized, oh my gosh, I can control when I have a good day, when I have a bad day, I can master my energy and that sovereignty. Like I can be the master there. Like that's great. Worked on me, started helping other people, and then grow it to the business that we have today, which is a global business where we help people step into their light and shine bright, but it's different than just like a coaching agency or group like that, where we have a whole ecosystem. We have a community, we have an online personal growth academy, and then we host events virtually and in person all around the world. And it's all geared around, okay, let's help you step into that light. Let's help you get rid of the blocks that are the walls, the armor, the shields, the things you have up that's stopping your light from being seen by the world, and sometimes from you even recognizing it, to okay, now let's step into it and shine. And so that's what all of our events do in various degrees, right? Because there's different stages to that whole journey. So we help people on those stages. The reason I do it is the same reason I love teaching so much. And that is I love, 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 love the breakthroughs that people have, the aha moment, when that light bulb goes on, that just fuels me like nothing else. I remember going for job interviews when I was teaching, and I go, well, why do you want the job? And I said, I love those aha moments, those light bulb moments when you're explaining something in music, like this is how this works. And then the kids are confused, but then all of a sudden, like the eyes open up, like, oh my gosh. I remember I had a student in a theory class. He was working so hard trying to understand it, but it just wasn't clicking. And it was been like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and he's, bless his heart, he was doing as best as he could try to figure it out. And then for whatever reason, one day I said it in this context. It's like the stars aligned, his eyes lit up, and he's like, oh my God, this makes so much sense, Mr. Jones. Like, oh, this goes here, this goes here. And then he was a choir student as well. He's like, is that why this happens like this? Is this what's happening in this piece of music? It just warmed my heart so much and just fueled me and energized me to see that joy in his eyes and his heart, and see that
yeah,
all throughout the students. But now, in a broader context, when people get to step into their light and know who they are and love them for them, right? They feel amazing, worthy, and enough. Oh my gosh, because for years I didn't feel that way. Like
yeah,
there's a whole story going down into, my rock bottom, suicidal, etc., that because I didn't feel worthy and enough, that now I want to help people avoid that or get out of it faster and know that,
mhm,
hey, you are amazing, you are worthy and enough. You have that light, embrace it and let it
yeah,
shine. So when people do that, even just a little bit, it brings me joy and energizes me and says, all right, let's keep going. Let's keep helping people. And the goal is a big one where our goal is to help 1 billion people step into their light and shine. Like this isn't a small movement. This is a big global movement. I mean,
Wow.
8 billion people in the world. We're only asking for an eighth of it. So it's not that big, just an eighth of the world population. Why not?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. I'll tell you, I saw so much of myself in what you were sharing there because for much of my life, this whole feeling of unworthiness is, I mean, I totally felt that way. I totally felt that way. And to get to this, and I'm extremely grateful for the people in my life who saw in me what I could not see for myself at the time, you know.
Thank God for them. Like,
And they saw some pretty great things. Even when they would share that with me, it took some time for me to wrap my mind around it and come to the realization that, like, wow, you know what? They're right. They are
mhm.
totally right. And so we've got we've come a long ways, and I'm really excited by what's going on right here, right now. And I'm also totally jazzed when I think, I mean, I get goosebumps thinking about where we're going and what's going to be happening in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And I'm just excited to be on this journey and just continuing to step into this role that I get to hold in people's lives and stuff, and it's a process that will never end. It's just we get to continue stepping in and just learning and growing and figuring new things out and figuring out how to best use our God-given gifts and abilities to make our biggest, because you know what, every one of us was put on this earth to do that, and we all have these God-given gifts, but sometimes we can, well, I mean, I won't speak for anybody else, but I'll speak for me. It just took me a while to just come to see them and figure out how to use them effectively, you know?
And
So,
use them in the way that's helping the world become a better place.
yeah,
For 30 years, I was using my gifts and talents in ways that were very self-serving, trying to build up my ego and not necessarily realizing those were my strengths, but using a lot of those things to build up me as opposed to helping the world. And there's nothing wrong with helping ourselves. No, we want to have a good life, have, the house, the cars, the nice things here. But if we can impact the world and help others, all that stuff is going to happen anyway. So
yeah,
instead of being so centered, focused on self, on me, let's help others and take care of ourselves too, right? Let's make sure we're
yeah,
good as well, but let's go impact others. And that was a huge change when I became aware of that. But as you said, it's the people in my life. I wasn't aware of it. I didn't see it,
yeah,
and other people did, and I still didn't believe them until my eyes were opened. I had those aha moments
yeah,
because they were helping me.
yeah, totally. Okay, so now that we've got a little bit of context set here, let's shift gears just a little bit. I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of our listeners. So, Spencer, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And Spencer, I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Well, thank you. It's a beautiful question, and because we talked even from the beginning, what relationships can do and where they can take you, and you might not even know at that moment when you first meet that person. I mean,
Yeah,
I would first and foremost say my wife, right? She's been amazing, a cornerstone for me, a pillar when I was at my rock bottom. She could, I mean, she was still probably mad at me, all the stuff of the stupid choices I made in life, but she was still there, still saw that light in me, that faith in me, and kept me going, believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. So I could share all from her. But when you asked that question, my mind went to her first. But then when we're talking business, there's another person who has really truly helped me become who I am today as a person, but as a business that we have and the lives that we're impacting, and saw that in me and the mission within me that I I didn't necessarily see myself, or I was afraid to step into it. And he held that space for me to allow me to step into it. And so
Okay.
that person is Michael Faber of Unleash You Now. I mentioned him earlier. He's where I met Dr. Rob at the men's retreat. So he put all that together. So Michael Faber's my business coach. I got to meet him over 4 years ago now. Oh my gosh,
Okay.
4 years ago, met him. And we were in a free Facebook group together, and he was doing what he does to bring in clients, me not knowing any better at the time. And if I did know better, I'd still do it. But I got to meet him and chat, and then just virtually online, got to know him more, started chatting like you and I did via Messenger, hopped on a call, and then decided to hire him as my coach because I had a business plan. I retired from teaching right before COVID happened. I had the
Okay.
business plan, and we were going to work with companies. Great. And then COVID happened, all that got shut down. We had to reframe and refocus everything. So we started doing that. Wasn't going quite as well as we were hoping. And I met Michael, and then we started to build this whole structure. And so it started off with building a positive, abundant mindset, something we still do to the day. And then from there, we started working and building this foundation of that whole ecosystem that I mentioned earlier, right? At the community, the academy, and our events. But that wasn't the thing 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago when we first started really working together. It was, all right, let's do this. And then let's learn how to build the plane and do all the steps. I've listened to podcasts, I read the books, I've read the blogs and tried things. And I kept hearing like, oh, this is it. Oh, this is it. I was looking for that magic pill, that magic thing that would do it all of a sudden, and nothing would do it. And it's just, it got really frustrating. So then when I started working with Michael, not only was his faith in me and my ability and where we were going, he saw that light within me. He said, "Okay, now here's where we start. Let's start here. Now do this. Now do this." Right? He was like, "Hand me the piece, the next piece in that puzzle to put
Yeah.
it in." And I still had to do the work for it, but he was showing me, "Oh, here's a piece." And the crazy part is there was a lot of it that I already knew from the books, from the podcast, from all those things that I've listened to and read, but they were all scattered, right? There were all these different things. So
Sure.
I'm like trying to randomly throw this puzzle piece that's a corner piece that doesn't belong in the center. Like it doesn't make any sense. But I didn't know better. It
Yeah.
wasn't until a person who's had that experience is, oh, no, now do this one. And then obviously there were a lot of new things as well that I learned to improve and connect the dots and add that glue to really solidify it. So over these 4 years, right, it started off, okay, let's do this free challenge. Okay, where does that lead? And then building it up to where we had, I think my first free challenge that I led before I met Michael was 50 people at the biggest that I
Okay.
had before I met him. After, right when I started working with him, we had 300 in
Nice.
there for the first launch, and then we had over 1,000 people in that group, in that community, within like 3-4 months, and now we're at over 2,400, and it's
Wow.
still growing, slowly but surely. And what the best part is we've built the whole foundation now so that we have that solid foundation. We've tested it, we've run people through it and helped supported people, have the reviews, testimonials, etc. So now we're solid and obviously flexible when we need to be, but then we could start to scale it and scaffold. And that's what we've been doing now the last 6 months, especially is, okay, we got the foundation. Now let's open the floodgates. Let's go, bring in more people and just support them on this journey and see what's working best. But
Yeah.
it's been a game changer working with him to have a coach, a person who gets me, a person who is who resonates with me, right? That good relationship like we talked about at the beginning. Once you find that person who could support you and be like, okay, here's the next step, or here it is, or ask you the right question to get you into that right place. It's amazing how fast that grew. Within 1 month, I'll see, we worked together for 2 months. In that third month of working together, we tripled what we did, I believe tripled what we did the first 9 months of the year, right? So
Wow.
like we tripled that. And then the next year we doubled what we made that last year. And then we doubled it, then we stayed steady, then we doubled it. However that math works out. But it's been so incredible to see that growth. Cool. The financial growth is great. That's
Yeah.
helping us, but that's only a result of the impact that we've had by helping more
Yes.
people and making and having more relationships, intentional relationships where we get to support. So without him, we wouldn't be where we're at with the business, with the size of it, with the impact, with the vision of helping 1 billion people. Not that he told me that vision, but he helped me have that belief and build that structure to like, okay, now let's start scaffolding and building it and knowing we have to tweak and adjust. But without him there, helping me, supporting me, guiding me the way, we wouldn't be here. And without Katie's
Yeah.
support and love and faith, be like, I trust you. You're freaking out because it's not right where you want to be yet, but I know it's going to be. I got you. I love you. I support you. That's because of those two people, especially we're here today.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So Michael has held this role in your life for about 4 years now, correct? Since 2020, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so if you look back over those 4 years, I want, and I'm sure, Spencer, you can come up with a number of examples for this question I'm about to ask you, but I know that one will just come to top of mind for you, and that's the one you'll want to share. So if you look over the last 4 years,
Mhm.
and this relationship that you and Michael have had, what is an example? What is one example where you personally got to make a really substantial impact? And you also know that would have never happened if not for your relationship with Michael.
I, I'm going to say relationships,
Okay.
in the sense of attending the events that they put together and inviting to speak at those events.
Okay.
Because of that, I've met, as we mentioned, Dr. Rob and other people who have been integral in helping us build the scaffold and strengthen all the stuff that we're doing. Um, it's hard to say just one because there's been so many relationships that have been pivotal that stemmed
Sure.
from me meeting Michael that
Yeah.
all right, we met this person. Oh, we met this person. Oh, we met this person. And some of these people were tight for that time, and then they helped and supported when they needed to. Then they went their
Yeah.
own directions. Other
Yeah.
people, they're like brothers to me. We're still really extremely tight, and like going forward in our own accountability groups. I would say that has been the biggest thing to date, um, from that. Now, the only thing that might rival that, I would say, is me his faith and trust in me to step into my own light and shine fully authentically as I am with the big summit that we have coming up, because it was
Okay.
a put together events, personal growth events on the smaller level, 4 to 12 people. In my previous life of acquired director and before, we did events everything from 4 people to 1,000 people, so that's not new. But back then it was very ego led. Now it's heart centered, right? And leading and trying to support more people in a positive, not egocentric way. And I was afraid of taking that leap of faith because all of a sudden, when I started seriously thinking about putting together this big event, it was, I know you asked for one example. Now I'm giving you like two, so I
That's all
apologize.
right. You're totally fine.
um, that when I thought about putting out to the summit, I remember clearly I was sitting in my backyard with a fire going on and like a Friday evening, and I'm thinking to myself about this, and all of a sudden I felt that fire come up inside again, like, oh, like it's go time. Let's show the world, let's have some fun, and let's shine. And I remember being excited and then instantly freaked out in the sense that I'm like, I remember that feeling. I remember that feeling from being ego-led before being, no, I'll show the world who Spencer is. Let's shine and let it come on me. And so it was 5 minutes, shockingly, 5 minutes before or after that, I was going to talk to Michael. We already had the call planned. And so I was talking to him then about that. He's like, no, I got you. Like, I'll let you know if your ego's taken a step, right? And I've set up those boundaries, those bumpers in place, Katie, my wife, Michael, and others to help me not go back to being ego man that I was before. Um, but without him, I'm not sure I would have taken this big leap of faith because now it's, yeah, we have this summit. This is the first one of many, but the vision is to have 20,000 people in a stadium one day, most likely. That's a current vision of it, and seeing where that goes to support them. But that wouldn't have been possible without him. So currently, in the past, I'd say relationships, and probably continue will be relationships. But then stepping into my full light and being like, okay, let's stop hiding from the world of who I am. I've stepped into it more and more and more, but that was one of the bigger steps most recently that I've done, and that
Yeah.
was with his faith and support and guidance.
Wow. Wow. It's interesting how I I see so much of myself in all that you shared.
Mm.
And I know that, I come, especially in my previous business when I used to be in the publishing business. Um, Over a 12-year period that I owned that business, I did almost 600 strategic partnerships in that 12 years.
Wow.
And so for one, I really came to understand the value of relationships, the value of honoring relationships, the value of just treating people well, doing what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it, and just really honoring those relationships and letting people know how much we appreciate them. And I can tell you from personal experience that no matter how successful somebody is, no matter how big their business is, no matter how great things look from the outside looking in, there is not a person on the face of this earth that gets too much appreciation. And
Mhm.
when we just show them genuine appreciation, man, I'll tell you, that goes so far. It goes so far. And but I also know, in partnering and collaborating with so many people over the years, I it cut. I would look at other people and think like, oh man, they got this going on and this going on, and like to the extent where a lot of times I would put them on a pedestal because I felt, well, they have accomplished so much more in business than I ever have, And so who do I think I am trying to, do whatever with them? Because here's them and here's me. And it wasn't until I started having these just heart to heart conversations with people where I found out that, like, wow, yep, they are. They have had some amazing success in their life. They have done some amazing things for sure, but they're just like me. I remember the first time I had this just heart to heart, one on one conversation with this guy who just openly shared some of the stuff that he was going through. And I was like, wow, you're dealing with some of the same stuff as me. But yet, in my mind, I thought you were all of this, and you are. That hasn't changed. You are that person. But man, you're just doing the best you can with what you got too. And
Right.
having that experience was such a game changer because it's now caused me to realize that, yeah, you know what? We're all doing the best we can with what we got, you know. And
100%.
and when
100%.
we just be our, I mean, I don't, these terms genuine, authentic, they kind of get thrown around a lot, but when we just show up as our real selves, complete with what we would perceive as our flaws or whatever, and not, my buddy Jesse always says, I got nothing to hide and nothing to prove, and coming from that place, when we can really get where that's where we're at, I got nothing to hide and nothing to prove, and we don't care what other people think about us. The right people, they're just attracted to us. They're just attracted to us. And I just really appreciate you, Sharon, because I still am. I I am just I try not to be in awe, but yeah, I had one of my friends recently tell me, Kevin, it's okay to be in awe of everything that's happening and how you're being used by God to just let you're just allowing things to happen through you, and you get to be this vessel that gets to have this major impact in the world. And the more we just step into that role, the more you just step into that role, Spencer, the more right people are just going to be attracted to who you are and how you show. I mean, that's what attracted me to you. Is like, man, I just love Spencer. I just love who he is. I just love how he shows up, man. I want to get to know him better, you know. And
I
and
I
and the
appreciate
right people just do that, you
it.
know. And
Yeah.
so
100%. And it's amazing. There's two things that happen. One is you were there hearing what they were thinking, the near imposter syndrome going, oh my gosh, they're so much better than I am. They're on this pedestal, and who am I to be with them at first? But then you have to accept who you are and be like, okay, I'm cool with this and I'm all right with this. Now let's hear where they are. Oh, no one's on a pedestal. No one's better than anybody else ever. In my opinion, no one's ever better. We're just on different journeys and or farther on the journey than others. And that's okay, right? People who have huge businesses, you quote a dollar amount, great, you're farther on your journey. I might be able to learn something from you in that aspect. Maybe you can learn something from me on my journey in this aspect or not, but we're not raising people up on the pedestal. And that's been it's a struggle for a lot of people because that's what we do a lot in society is put people up on pedestals. And when you're sharing that story, my mind instantly went back to, funny enough, that same men's retreat when I met Dr. Rob and a bunch of other amazing men there. Michael Faber and their team stacked it. Like they had all these powerhouse people who have done these incredible things, and the resumes are just like, oh my God, like how did you get to do all those things? And then you're all in this mansion in Florida for like 3 days. And I get to spend time with you. Like, who am I? I walked in with major imposter syndrome where I remember calling Katie almost in tears. I mean, we cried a bunch as it was just because we were working through a lot of emotional stuff there. But I was dealing with the whole imposter syndrome, like, who am I to be here? And calling Katie, like, I can't believe these like who these people are, and I'm getting to meet them and chat with them, and they're looking at me like I'm just an equal. I'm like, oh my God, but like you're so much better and farther along than I am. And I've been working on this journey and I still felt that way so much until it was after that event. I spoke at the event. I'm like, who am I to be speaking, first of all, after all these people? But then, and with Michael's faith in me, I did it. But then it was after the event, I went, oh, they're still just like me. They're going through their own crap. They're doing their own stuff. They're doing the best that they can with what they have. That's what I'm doing. They're just at a different part of their journey. When I shifted that part of my mindset and accepted that for me, instead of like, oh, no one's better than them, they're just farther along. Cool. Then I was able to create a healthier, more positive relationship with them and with myself. Because before I was demeaning myself, lowering and being negative to
true.
me,
Yeah.
lowering my energy as opposed to just saying, hey, we're on the same playing field. You're just farther along than I am with that. And you're willing, and some people were willing to reach out and stay connected, some people weren't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting journey to go on for myself. So I just wanted to point out that you accepted you and you accepted them on that playing field and stuff, like, hey, let's get rid of these pedestals and different plateaus. No, we're in the same arena. We're just at different points in that journey
Yeah.
uh in there, and that's huge when we're able to do that. So thank you for reminding me of that, and knowing that we're no one's better or worse. We're just at different points of our journey, and we can all support one another.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation today, Spencer. And like, for anybody else listening, going, man, Kim, I really like Spencer too. I like Spencer and how he shows up. How can they get more info on stuff you're working on? Any websites, any resources that you can share with them, Spencer?
Yeah, I'd love to. If me and my energy resonate with you, I invite you all to check out our website. It's wearejonesin4.com. So we are, and then
Okay.
JONESINFOR.com, like you're Jonesin for positivity. And that way you can connect with me. I'm on Facebook mostly. You can find me pretty readily on there and just
Okay.
connect and have fun, see what we're doing. But I'd love to just have a conversation. And actually, I would love, if you're watching this, I'd love for you to connect with me somehow, email, wherever is on my website, and let me and Kevin know what was the biggest takeaway from this chat. I would love to hear.
For sure. For sure. Well, Spencer, any last thing you feel like sharing before we call it a wrap?
Well, yeah, thank you. Two quick things. One is thank you again for having me here. It's such an honor to be on the show, sharing my light with you, and thank you for allowing me this amazing space. And the last part is I always like saying this when I get a chance to. So I hope everybody hears it with an open heart and just breathes it in and accepts it if it resonates with you. And that is, you are amazing, you are worthy, and you are enough just the way you are. You don't need to do anything, change anything, or prove anything to anyone, not even you, because you are amazing, worthy, and enough.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Spencer, and really excited to get this out there and share it with a lot of amazing entrepreneurs. So thank you again. Really appreciate you too.